Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're back. We took a break and we are back. It's me and it's Kate, just the two of us tonight, but we cannot forget Mr. Milo, who's going to give us his
And
opinions,
Milo.
I'm sure of it. Yeah. Hello, puppy.
Milo, Floor.
Yes, her, such a cute dog. So, yes, we are so excited to be back. We took a little break during the slowest time of the football season. It has been a little crazy of complete boredom. I mean, even the regular guys are, the major media guys are like, let's talk about, the history of, we're starting to get that, the history of things. So, excuse me for the funky lighting. The sun is just going to be there for just a couple of minutes. So sorry about that. So anyway, joining me is Miss Kate, wearing her Sporting Kansas City t-shirt, I might say. Yay! See, I've converted them. People, you come to Kansas City, I will make you a Sporting Kansas City fan. I'm telling you, soccer and all. Even Lisa, who said soccer's a lot more fun in person. Yeah, she was like, that was kind of fun. So that was
cool. If you could go in person, and especially if you go with someone like we went with Dana, who's a season ticket sold, someone who really understands the game and follows it and knows what's going on, they can kind of help you with some of the backstories and that. Yeah. It makes it a lot more interesting.
You know what? I'm going to pull that down. Hold on, everyone. Kate, tell them how you've been.
I have been actually really good. I was super excited, when the Browns revealed their new logo, because apparently it's a dog. And I'm like, okay, great, we got a logo. But that's just, frankly, something to distract us from the fact that you didn't get DeAndre Hopkins yet, and you haven't done anything else in the last month for my football team. I got serious concerns. We'll talk about those because they're in the AFC, and we're talking AFC tonight. But we got a dog now for our logo.
And I liked it. I'm glad it was something. I mean, not that I had a problem with the helmet, but, that's just the football logo. I'll never forget that from the Titans. That was hilarious.
Yeah, as long as they don't put the dog on the helmet, we're fine.
Yes.
So the dog will be on all the media and all the, when the ESPN shows the division standings and stuff, that will be the logo that shows up. That's fine. That's cool.
Yeah.
Leave my helmet blank and we're good.
Yeah, it is good. Yeah, there's been a lot of changes. So as Kate mentioned, tonight we're going to talk about the AFC. And normally we break this down division by division by division, but because we decided to take a little break and not quite go so in depth, we decided to just kind of do an overall, coverage of the AFC. And the reason I want to start with AFC is, number one, this is Kate's bread and butter. Like this, she gets this, right? Like, and I'll do NFC and we're going to have a great time, but that'll be another night. But the interesting thing, I think, when people talk about the two conferences, Kate, they talk about that usually traditionally they say one is stronger than the other. Oh, this conference is so much better. This one is crap. And the funny thing is, it was the NFC for a lot of years. Now it's flip-flopped to the AFC, or has it? So I want to know, but we'll start the whole entire thing. I want to talk to you about the AFC versus the NFC, and then we're going to get in depth about the NFC. I want to know from you, looking at not just Super Bowl winners, not just the top 2 to 3 teams in each conference, do you really think that the AFC is that much stronger than the NFC?
So there's two different ways to look at it. The real quick and easy way is to look at quarterbacks. And if I tell some random, start naming me quarterbacks, the first 5, 6, 7, 8 they come up with, at least 5 are going to be AFC quarterbacks. There are just more. They're younger. They're a lot more exciting. And they're the names that people know. And aside from Lisa, tons of other people think that quarterback automatically means you have a good team. I personally think that if we're talking about a well-rounded team, a team that's balanced with both offense and defense, I think there are better defenses in the NFC. And I think there's better balance from a team perspective in the NFC. I didn't pull the numbers, but I'm willing to bet that if I did, NFC teams beat AFC teams more often than AFC teams beat NFC teams in the regular season.
That would be really interesting. Now, when you look at really the top handful of teams, you have the Chiefs, the Bills, the Bengals, Jacksonville, Chargers, Ravens, Dolphins, and then you start to get to kind of the middle of the road. If you go to the National Football Conference, so the NFC, you have the Eagles, the Niners, the Vikings, the Cowboys, the Giants, the Seahawks, the Lions are kind of coming out of nowhere. So when I look at these two off the cuff, immediately, the AFC looks like a stronger conference. But when you look at either teams as a whole or the up and coming teams, I think you almost have to lean NFC. But I don't know that it's that cut and dry. I really think that it's going to be interesting over the next couple of years of the evolution of what used to be the younger quarterbacks. So Mahomes and Burrow and, and some of these young guys who are starting to not be so young anymore. They're getting to their prime. So then will the young up and comers be coming from the NFC? So it's really interesting. I think that if you're a fan of one or a fan of the other, you're probably going to lean toward your own. But at the same time, I'm just really impressed with just the kind of those top tier teams on both sides. But we are focusing tonight on the AFC. So if we talk about the AFC, you look at the end of last season, obviously Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl. It's their second Super Bowl in a few years, and they look to have a fantastic, strong team. The only thing I ever say about the Chiefs living in Kansas City is I'm like, they have more than 2 players on the team, right? Because all you ever hear about is Mahomes and Kelsey. There's no other players. And then someone will throw in a little Creed Humphrey every once in a while, but that's about all that you get. But it's really pretty fun to kind of talk about the Chiefs as a whole, because as a team, they are fantastic. Then you have the Buffalo Bills came in second, 13 wins. The Bengals came in with 12 wins after that. And then you had Jacksonville. They won their division, but they only had the 9 wins. The Chargers and the Ravens both had double digits. So you look at kind of those top teams. Then you have you have the Dolphins and the Steelers at 9 wins, the Patriots at 8, 3 teams at 7 wins. And so you start to get kind of that middle of the road question mark. So when you look at some of these top teams, obviously the Chiefs are no surprise to anyone. I don't think Cincinnati coming back was a surprise to anyone. But here's my question to you. And I would love for our listeners to tell me their thoughts in our chat too. If Lamar Jackson had stayed healthy, where would the Ravens have ended up? Would they have been a 12-win team?
I think so.
I think they would have bested the Bengals.
Easily 2 wins, and then they're tied, with for record with the Bengals. And then it's weird to look at last year's stats because there was that Bengals-Bills game that didn't happen. So they were 12-4. So they're missing, right? They're missing a game. So I don't know if the Bengals, if that game, if Hamlin hadn't been hurt, if that would have been a 13-win team. But instead, it didn't count, and it messed up things in the playoffs, coin toss, and all that kind of stuff. But easily 2 more wins for the Ravens if Lamar had stayed healthy, which just makes that division even more of a battle for this coming year if he's healthy this year, for what that's going to look like.
Well, you think they added OBJ, right? And so if he can stay healthy, that's one more weapon. Now, how big of a weapon, that's going to be kind of up to everyone, to decide on their own, and we'll have to see how he does. But I do think that that would have changed the narrative of that just a little bit. We're going to talk about that division here just in a second. Yeah. But I really think that was really interesting. Now, to piggyback on top of that just a little bit, if you go back and you look at Jacksonville, and we're going to talk about this division because I think it's probably one of the more interesting divisions that we're going to get into this tonight. Jacksonville sitting at 9, but then you have the Chargers at 10, the Ravens are at 10, the Dolphins. All of these teams, even the Steelers, seem to have improved in this offseason. And I'm wondering how badly those top 5 teams are going to beat the tar out of each other this year.
So a lot of it is, as we're going to talk quarterbacks again, it's going to be who's going to be the quarterback in Miami week 1 versus week 8 versus week 17. What about in Pittsburgh? Baltimore's set. The Chargers are set. So they're going to be clawing their way up. I don't know if the Chargers have enough to get past Kansas City. They made it to the playoffs last year and then just didn't do well. Right. But Jacksonville's got to get past 9
Injury
wins.
Nightmare for Chargers.
Jacksonville's got to get past 9 wins. They've got to get into double digits for people to take them seriously.
Right.
They had a really good run at the end of the year and looked good in the playoffs. And Trevor Lawrence got some really good experience, but they've got to get past 9 wins. That division, is a hot mess, and they've got to win it, I think, more decisively to have a little more confidence going into the end of the season. But Miami, even the Patriots with 8 wins, are going to be coming after the Bills this year. They've seen the chink in their armor and what happened to them in the playoffs. And so it's going to be health issues at quarterback. And it's just going to be, did teams learn their lessons from last year? I think there's I think there's a lot more divisions up for grab in the AFC than next time when we talk about the NFC. I think a lot of those divisions are pretty cut and dried, and there's going to be battles for like second and third. But I think there are at least 2 divisions in the AFC where we could see first and second flip-flop this year.
Right. And we're going to get to that, but I want to start first. And I know that Lisa is listening. Lisa, I just sent you your email. All right. So I want to talk about, though, a couple of divisions specifically to start off with tonight. So I want to talk about the AFC North and the AFC East. And so the AFC East, you have the Bills, the Dolphins, the Patriots, and the Jets. The North, you have the Bengals, the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Browns. And the reason why I wanted to talk about these two divisions, is because of how tight the races were between them. Some of the other teams, I mean, Kansas City blew out everyone in their division. You know what I mean? And so there wasn't really a fight there. My question is, if you look at the East, if you look at the North, they really seem to be the toughest divisions in the AFC, just for how closely they are all, together there in their win-losses.
Well, let's talk AFC North. Every single team, all 4 of those teams were 3-3 in the division.
Yep.
I mean, you can't get much more competitive than that when you're going 3-3 in your division. In the East, the Dolphins and Patriots were both 3-3. The Bills went 4-2. The Jets went 2-4. But at one point, I think the Bills started 0-2 in the division. And we were looking at them like, how are you like first place in the AFC and you haven't won a division game? So I think that the AFC North teams know each other very well. The coaches know each other very well. They've all been around long enough now that they've got each other's number, and it's very balanced. The NFC East, I think, the AFC East, I think, is still up for grabs. And Lisa, I'll throw you.
Hi, Lisa. Glad you could join us.
Play in the NFC East, the best quarterback's going to win that division.
I know. So, Lisa, what I was saying with Kate,
whoever can stay healthy.
Right. What I was saying with Kate is that really it's the North and the East that are the toughest divisions in the AFC, just simply because of how tight that competition is and how equally balanced, which is a funny thing to say about the East because it wasn't like that for so long. Right. So, as Sue said in our comments, she said, the AFC East is going to be a bloodbath. I kind of agree.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And I think it boils down to we finally have consistency, right? We have coaches that are back. Belichick's a mainstay. He, obviously in New England, but I mean, Miami's going in, Daniel's still there. Robert Sapp's going into his next year. Buffalo with Sean already knows what they're trying to accomplish. Definitely. So I think the AFC is going to be fun. To me, honestly, I think it's whichever quarterback can stay healthy at this point. And, just with me and listening to some of the stuff with Rodgers, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if they can keep him on the field. It's going to be interesting if Miami can keep Tua on the field. I think Josh can get dinged around a little bit, but I mean, he's pretty much been a mainstay. I mean, he's big guy. I mean, he's taken some licks. And I think with New England, it's just going to be that quarterback issue to me. It's going to be interesting in the preseason to see what these both quarterbacks do, because I still think you got a 50-50 split in that locker room of who they want to start.
It could be. And,
the AFC East, like Sue can say, it can go either way.
Yeah. Absolutely. And what a difference it's getting a player like for the Patriots, getting a player like Hopkins. I mean, that just brings up their level. If they can land him, brings up his level. Yeah, he had great visit in Titans, but it's going to come down to who pays him the most. We know that, people. So, I think that'd be really interesting too. So I like these two divisions because I like the competition level of it. I don't want to know that, Patrick Mahomes is going to blow out every team that he plays. That's boring. That's boring football unless you're a Chiefs fan. And so I like that you never know. And the way that Miami plays Buffalo and the way that the Jets play you know what I mean? It's so fun that way. Now we can't ignore this before we move on from these two. We have to talk about Aaron Rodgers. And Lisa, you brought it up. And Kate, I want your opinion on it. I have no faith that Aaron Rodgers is going to play this whole season. I just don't think that he is going to have necessarily the protection that he had before. And I've seen people say, oh, he has a better line now. That doesn't mean they know him. You know what I mean? There's that familiarity that comes with that. but I think it's really interesting. I just don't know that he will stay healthy for the whole season, because that has been an issue the last 5-6 years. And then if he doesn't turn around and say, yeah, I'm out, see you later. You know what I mean? So what are your thoughts? Aaron Rodgers, to me, I guess, Kate, is what I'm saying, does not guarantee this team a playoff spot.
Agreed. I don't know that he is mentally committed to what he's going to have to do to take a 7-win team and turn them around and get them to where they would need to even think about making a run at the playoffs, especially in this division. There's better teams, frankly. And at his age, there are better quarterbacks in this division. It just is what it is. One of the benefits of Green Bay was his line knew him, to your point. They were familiar with him. They know when he's dropping back and which way he's going to go. And he knew his receivers very well after years and years and years and could read them and that kind of stuff. He's got to learn all this stuff new.
Although half of them are now in New York. They just you just transferred one team to the other.
Yeah. I just don't know mentally if he loves the game enough to do what he needs to do this year. I'm with you. If things don't go his way early on, he might be like, "Oh, I hurt my arm. I'm out."
Yeah,
gone.
I don't know. I don't trust him. I just don't trust him. But he's a quarterback, so that's why I don't trust him. But here's the interesting thing about these two divisions. I think they're some of the most fun to watch in the league. So I think that that they love to beat the ever loving tar out of each other, and you don't always get that. You get the rivalries, but there's just a feeling between some teams, and the North for sure, and then a lot in the East too. Man. It's not quite as good as Atlanta and the Saints, which I'm so glad they both might be good again this year, because I love that rivalry.
Lisa said something that I don't want to gloss over.
Sure.
Every single head coach in these two divisions is coming back. There's new head coaches in Indy, in Houston, in Denver, but in these two divisions, there's been so much turnover of coaches in recent years for some of these teams that I think the fact that all 8 of them are coming back with their same coaches we're gonna see that this year. We're gonna see that in the quality of play, in how quickly the seasons start for them. I think it's something we're gonna be talking about later in the year when we talk about rocky starts for some of these other teams. That consistency is finally gonna pay off for these teams.
Right. Now, I don't want to bag on the AFC West. AFC West, a division I cover. I like the AFC West, but I think that we get a little Mahomes blind. And like I said, Lisa, you missed this at the beginning of the show. I have to remind people that there's more than 2 people on that team. It's not just Mahomes and Kelsey, that there are actually other players on that team, because at every event, Big Slick was just here, and who they have? Mahomes and Kelsey. The Royals
we saw it too, but firsthand when we were all there, Dana, we saw it firsthand. Did we not?
That's all they care about.
Yes.
And it's boring. Sue just said it. It's boring. And so you look at the rest of that division, God knows what is going on with the Raiders. Holy crap, with Jimmy Garoppolo and all. I don't even know what's happening there. That's what you get for hiring a Belichick coach. And then I don't know what's going on. We'll have to see what happens with Russ and see if Sean Payton can even do anything. I know Broncos fans are real excited about Sean Payton. I think that's going to take a couple years, just saying. And then the Chargers, who we expect to be so good every year. And honest to God, they cannot stay out of the injuries, right? Like they're just so. Right. And so that division, to me, when you talk about great divisions, that ain't one of them. This is like the Patriots and the AFC East 10 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just boring. And so I wouldn't call that one. I like that Mahomes is such a positive guy, and I like that he's a good poster child for the NFL, and he's a lot of fun in this, and he's actually a very nice person. But Kelsey, I don't know. Jason Kelsey's great. But I think that division just doesn't have quite the grit that we get out of some of these other ones. So it's pretty interesting. Last division, of course, that we need to mention then is one that I'm going to say, I think is my pick for the most intriguing division, one of the most intriguing divisions in the NFL this year. And that is the AFC South. So you have Jacksonville Jaguars, who had 9 wins last year. They have the Titans, who had 7, the Colts had 4, and the Texans had 3. I'm going to say that not only is it my vote for probably one of the most interesting divisions in football, it's also my vote where we're going to swap the top. I think the Houston Texans are going to be very good.
Really?
They might not best the Jaguars, but I think this division is a completely up for grabs. Lisa, what do you think?
Whew, I think it's going to be interesting. I think the Jags are poised to take that over to me because I'm a Doug Peterson fan. I've loved Doug. I love the way Doug coaches.
Doug Peterson.
I think, because I think the players respond to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you saw that. I mean, he took a team that was.
Hold on.
Oh gosh, we talked about.
Hold on. I have to share Camden's. Sean Payton about to pull Russell Wilson. Maybe Camden. Maybe.
Oh my God.
We'll have to see what he does. All right. Sorry.
Hey, I like Russ. And Russ, I trust. You know that.
I know. I'm just teasing. It was a funny call.
I think Russ is a good quarterback with a good coach. And I think Denver fans, to me, I'm going to make y'all feel better. I think Denver fans have something to be excited about. I think Russ responds to good coaching. And I think Sean does that. I think Sean brings it better than that other coaching staff. So
Sean Payton to me is a +2. You can improve your record by 2 games just by bringing in Sean Payton. That gets them 7 wins, which doesn't get them nothing. They got some other stuff they got to get fixed. Sean Payton can't score touchdowns. He can't get field goal. I give you a +2 for Sean Payton.
Let's go back to the AFC South. I could talk about the West all day.
So the problem with the AFC South, Dana, is I agree with Lisa. I think the Jets are going to take it, but you're not going to take it with 9 wins. You're going to need more than 9 wins because you're not going to have teams down there at 3 and 4. There are going to be a lot more wins in this division, and I don't think 9 is enough to win it.
Lisa, what were you saying about Doug Peterson?
I think when you look at it, look at the Texans and the Colts. I mean, they're rebuilding. Let's be honest. If they get 7 wins, it'd be great because you got quarterback changes coming in both sides, right? Pretty respectively kind of new coaches. Where you look at the Titans, they're still coached up. You look at Jacksonville, they're coached up.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but look at what Houston did in the draft.
Not to sit there.
Yeah.
Look at what Houston did in the draft. If that pays off this year,
I think it'll pay off some this year, even more the second
but it's not
year.
going to pay enough. It's not going to pay off enough to get to a Doug Peterson and Titans level to me. I think it's going to be fun to watch the Titans and the Jags.
It could take you from 3 wins to 8.
Yeah,
which is then it's got you breathing down the neck of the Jags, who only managed 9 last year.
But I think the Jags are going to step up.
I think so too.
They added some good players to their team for sure. And I do love Doug Peterson too. The interesting thing about this to me is the X factors, right? So you have to look at the Texans with their brand new shiny quarterback, CJ Stroud. And then you also got my Will Anderson, which still hurts.
That's right, Dana. CJ Stroud, Ohio. Yeah. Okay, now I got the K connection.
Gotcha. And then you have Indianapolis, who also added some great pieces, but they added Anthony Richardson, quarterback, who in his interview today, they asked him, a question. And he's like, I'm just here so I won't get fined. So automatically love this kid even more than I did before. But
went to the Marshawn Lynch School of Media coverage.
But he did. He answered the question. It was really funny. But I like the spirit that's coming out of those. If you've watched any of the, the OTAs and the mini camps and all of that, there's a fun spark that's coming out of Indianapolis, which I think is good. But I think this division is going to be fun because I think exactly to the two of you's point is that this division, they are going to play each other well, and whoever can get it figured out, they're going to start stealing some of those wins from their own team. So I think it's going to be tight for a long time. So it could be really fun. Now, are any of them going to be barn burners or Super Bowl contenders? I don't get that feeling, although you never know. I mean, it's the off season. But I just really feel like this could be the one to watch where you have one bad game in a division game and you're going to lose the top spot. I just think it's going to be that tight. And I don't know about the Titans. They seem kind of a mess to me, but that's just me.
I think this is one of those divisions where all the experts will make their picks for how many wins and losses they have, and they're going to be completely wrong. Yeah. Top to bottom. Like, I think it'll be pretty easy to predict the other 3. I think, maybe a game off here and there. Mm-hmm. I think this is one of those that everyone is just going to be scratching their head like, there's so many unknowns. I don't know what to do. And they're going to, and we will all be wrong. I will make our picks when we do our pick'em show, I will write them down again. And I'm guessing now we will all be wrong about this
You're
division.
100% correct. All right. So since Lisa's here, let's go ahead and have our quarterback conversation. So as we mentioned at the beginning of the hour, that really one of the strongest suits of this division, if you're comparing them to the NFC, is their quarterbacks, right? So they have a lot of the young up and coming, just hitting their prime, because we have to remember, this is Patrick Mahomes, sixth season or something, he's been around a minute. And so I think that, they're starting to hit that prime, that stride. Injuries are starting to mount up just a little bit, but not, to any detriment quite yet. But in my opinion, the quarterbacks in this, even if the rest of the team isn't that great, is just really above the level of the NFC. Lisa, I know how much you love quarterbacks. You know how much I don't like quarterbacks. But I am impressed with how over the years where Brady was so dominant, Peyton Manning was so dominant, and you even had to throw Roethlisberger in there one, if you want to. In the AFC, that was really it, though. They had a lot of turnover and a lot of things going on. Now it is just such a great cast of characters at quarterback in the AFC.
Yeah, I think it's better than the NFC, and I think that automatically makes the AFC. And I think I posted it until Patrick Mahomes gets dethroned. You can't say anything negative. I mean, the guy wins. I mean, it's incredible. Are you going to put him in the same category as Brady? We're getting close, right? You don't think so?
He's got to do it for 15 plus years. He's got to do it. Yeah. Brady was the king for 15 years. I think we got to slow our roll on that one a little bit.
but you definitely
Brady's legacy was also pumped up by the fact that he was a 5th round draft pick.
For sure.
Some of these guys who are picked top 5, top 10, you expect that from them. And the surprise of what Brady was able to do kind of added to the levels on his pedestal.
That's fair.
Yeah, but I think when you talked about levels, is like you look at wins and losses and the decade that he was there, and you look at Patrick Mahomes, who he's elite. I mean, you can't argue that. He's an elite quarterback.
I wouldn't disagree there.
He's an elite quarterback. Brady was an elite quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is an elite quarterback. Let's put it there. I mean, I know how much you hate it, but and you look at the quarterbacks in here, and then you look at the quarterbacks up and coming, who we've all talked about, since the draft. That with CJ Stroud, with all Bryce coming off. I mean, it's amazing the talent level that could be. Lamar Jackson. I mean, you look at Buffalo with Josh Allen. I mean, as far as quarterback talent, there's no comparison for me that the AFC is just dominant over the NFC as far as quarterback play.
And they're on average younger.
Yeah,
so there's
that's
more
the biggest
years
key,
ahead of them. I will say, I think Mahomes got a little closer with what he did last year. He got a little closer to Brady because when they lost Tyreek Hill, when they let him go, and he lost one of his big weapons, and he was still able to find another one, next man up, and won 14 games and won the Super Bowl. That, to me, felt like a Brady thing, where the quarterback makes everyone around him better, makes mediocre players better. With Brady, you never knew which receiver or running back was going to get the ball from week to week. It made fantasy a nightmare if he had any of them because he'd pick one to throw to and not throw to anybody else. But he made everybody better. Receivers that were amazing with Brady did not do as well with other teams because there was like a magic there. And I saw a little bit of that with Mahomes, a little bit of, aside from Travis Kelce, you throw anybody in there with him and he will find a way to get them to ball and make them better. And I think that helped him get a little closer.
The only problem is the longevity for me. I think that you just have to continually do it over and over. And we have to remember the Patriots basically won a Super Bowl every other year. And, so I just think that people jump to the GOAT term way too fast. And that is no shade on Patrick Mahomes. I just think that there's a different level there. You have to do that for a long, long time before you do that. So you look at some of these you have Joe Burrow, who was fantastic the last 2 years, was not a perfect quarterback, much like Josh Allen, took him a minute. He had to, quit running for his life every 5 seconds. And Josh Allen had to quit throwing interception, so they had some issues there, but they figured it out. And I think that has to do with, good coaching. I think it has to do with the player learning and getting a little more mature. I think that those are fantastic. I do not want to discount Lamar Jackson. And that's why I keep bringing him up, because people, he was injured last year, and it's real easy between the injury and then the whole contract thing to forget how impactful he is as a player. And the Ravens still managed to get as many wins as they did without him. So I think that team is going to be very good. But I too like some of these young guys that are coming up. I think that Sunshine, as our friend Michelle calls him, Sunshine, Trevor Lawrence. I think that he, one more year under Doug Peterson, could be a fantastic quarterback too, and start to look there. I'm not even so mad at Mac Jones up there. I think that he's just had some issues and doesn't have a lot of help there. I think the only misstep there was Wilson for a while, not Russell, Zach. And then they brought in Aaron Rodgers. And again, I don't know that Aaron Rodgers is not the same guy he was before, but still a better quarterback than Zach Wilson. So that should be improving there too. I think it should be good. I think Russell Wilson will get better. I think Justin Herbert is fantastic. It's just like one quarterback after another. There's only a handful of teams that really don't have a decent to good to elite quarterback in the AFC. And I think that's really important to recognize.
And that's interesting, because when you look at it, as we could easily throw go to the other spot. Which quarterback do we think will fall off? Which quarterback do we don't? Because you have, like with the Browns, where's Deshaun going to go? Are we going to see the Deshaun that we saw a couple years ago? It's so, it's all up in the air. And let's go to the Titans with Ryan Tannehill.
Mm-hmm.
They're teetering because they keep trying to replace the guy. The guy brings them to the, playoffs, but we're still seeing them drafting and trying to, plug in, which is always said, Ryan is a good quarterback. He's just not at the level where I think a lot of these other quarterbacks are. I think many see Deshaun Watson as a potential elite quarterback because of what
he did before.
Right. I mean, Lamar, I think, like you said, a lot of people just hate on Lamar for some reason. He gets them right there. I think until Lamar can get them past the playoffs, I think he's always going to have that monkey on his back.
Yep.
But it's funny is like, who's going to fall out? Is it going to be the Jimmy G fallout that we were expecting to see the Raiders?
He's going to get his coach fired. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. It's because we're going to see somebody go. We're going to see somebody fall. Because you're not. So it's going to be interesting to see which quarterback. It'll be a great conversation to have. Like George said, which quarterback took that step back that we thought they were going to go forward.
Well, and all these young.
For as much as I hate Pittsburgh, I like Kenny Pickett. I'm excited to see what he's going to do now with this year. The only one really on the entire list that I have all kinds of questions on, Lisa, is your guy, is Tua. What's going on down there? Is he starting week 1? Is there a leash on him? Is it a health thing? Are you concerned about the coaching?
It's a total health thing. It's a total health thing. And the thing is, it's a total smokescreen, because they're putting these little cameras all over his helmet to see if there's some way. Apparently he put on like 20 pounds. Everybody's saying he's bigger to try to kind of bulk him up. So I think they're doing everything they can, just shy of seeing that Kelso helmet. Remember the Buffalo Bill Kelso helmet on this kid, to try to see if they can rectify some of these concussion that he's taken, and I think that's why you're seeing the helmet cams, because you've got so many experts that people don't realize that the NFL hires to see, is it a way you're pivoting your body or your hips? Is it a way when you roll out, are you rolling out and then the way you take the tumble, are you not, it's sort of like, he reminds me of a baseball player. I don't know if you remember when you're a kid, you remember how they teach you how to slide? It's almost like they're trying to teach his body how to take a tackle to where you don't hit the head. And we all know that sometimes that's impossible because you get wrapped up in the game. And if somebody blindsides you and stuff like that. So it's going to be real interesting to see what they do with him and if he can stay on the field. Because one more concussion, one more injury that cost him game, he's done in Miami. I'll tell you right now.
Oh, I would hope so. For God's sake, I hope he's done with football at that point. For Christ's sake, that's just like too much. So let's look at this. We've talked a little bit about every team. We have, kind of leaned on a lot of them a little bit more than others. So sorry about that. I do want to bring up the Browns again, just so that so Kate can talk about them a little bit. I think that I think that the thing with the Browns is the unknown. And I'm going to say this again, as I say every offseason, Kate. The minute you're ready to give me Myles Garrett, I will take him, baby. You just need to send him over into the blue and the green, please. But it's interesting because the Browns really are a huge question mark. Hi, Milo.
They are. This is Milo, not Miles. Milo.
Milo.
He's being really good, all things considered. He's a Bernedoodle, 4 months old. So here's the thing with the Browns. I still don't know what my team looks like.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have Deshaun Watson for the first 10 weeks of last year, and he hadn't played a full season, almost 2, before that. It took him an awful long time to get the rust off and to try to build some connections with Amari Cooper and the other, DPJ and my other receivers, David Njoku at tight end. I had horrendous injury issues on my offensive line, and people keep coming through. If they can stay healthy, I think the best thing they could do for him is try to go get DeAndre Hopkins and just pay him whatever he wants. They played.
They don't have any money left, and you gave it all to.
They got money left. There's.
Yeah, because we all know the cap.
They want him. We all know how the salary cap works. If you want to spend it, you can spend it. You will find that money somewhere. The years that he played with DeAndre in Houston, he had 1,300 and 1,400 yard receiving seasons. Get somebody he's comfortable with. If they didn't have any personal issues or any beef, if they're buds, if they get along, Deshaun needs to be on the phone saying, DeAndre, I need the D's in Cleveland. I need the DES and the DEA, and let's get it going.
Pull a Rodgers, in other words. He needs to pull a Rodgers, right?
Yeah.
The offense is just up in the air. I don't know what we're going to get. I've got Nick Chubb running, but if I don't have a throwing game, they'll just put 10 in the box and then we're done. What I'm not worried about this year is my defense. Jim Schwartz is our new defensive coordinator. We focused on defense in the draft and in the offseason. He's switching us to a 4-3. He has got all the support, both, in words and in cash from the front office to rebuild that defense the way he wants. So he's kept the pieces we had that were really good, like Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward and some of the other guys. And he got rid of the ones he didn't want, and he brought in new people. And I think our defense is going to be markedly better this year. So now it's just going to be, it's awesome to have a great defense. I love me a great defense, but if you can't put points on the board, you're not going to win games. And so I'm going to lose a bunch of 3-0 games. Is that, I don't know. There are just so many unknowns, and we're at a slight disadvantage because we are playing in the Hall of Fame game against the New York Jets, which means we only get 2 preseason games, not 3.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of guys at OTAs, those bubble guys, that are trying to guarantee themselves a job because you don't have that third game where those guys on the edge make the squad. So OTAs and training camp is going to be a little more important. And then building some consistency, putting together your groupings on offense and defense and letting them get reps together in training camp. And then in these 2 preseason games are really going to set the tone for the season. They have to get off to a good start. They have to get morale up.
Especially in that division. I'm telling you.
You can't get behind in this division because Lamar's going to be back healthy, and Joe Burrow's going to do what Joe Burrows and Chase do down in Cincinnati. And fan sentiment is really, it's like a seesaw. Deshaun's got to show us something. Yeah. We put up with a lot to accept that he was going to be our quarterback and that we were going to pay him what we were going to pay him. And we took it on the chin. Now you better step up and play. And a lot of the mistakes last year were rust, were, throwing at receivers' feet. He had a lot of work he needed to do. And from everything I'm hearing, he has done a lot of work. He has had meetings over the offseason with some of his receivers and stuff. So fingers crossed, he'll be everything he could be, because, for me, Deshaun Watson is a lot like Josh Gordon and some of the other players that have come through here. When you have a talent like they have, a God-given, whether you believe in God or not, there are just some guys who have talent. And when things aside from football keep you off the field and keep you from playing the way you should play, I want to watch good football. I almost don't care what the record is, as long as it's good, watchable football. I've lived through a lot of years of unwatchable football. I would at least like good football. And I would like to see him play to the talent that he has. So fingers crossed he has figured it out. But I think,
Yeah.
long story short,
long story long.
a little longer. Defense will be amazing and fine and will surprise everybody. Offense.
Yeah, but how long is it going to take? How long does it take to learn a new defense? Because you're coming off of a scheme to a Jim Schwartz type 4-3-1 gap plays. It's going to be a little bit of adjustment for these guys.
We'll have to see what happens, especially with the shortened preseason for sure.
A little bit, but
so we're not going to talk about the logo.
We already did. You missed it.
Oh, I missed the logo.
Well, look, I have a logo. It's a dog. Logo? You want me to be excited? Go sign me DeAndre Hopkins. Do something on the field. I don't care about uniforms or logos or cheerleaders or Dollar Dog Night or any of that stuff. That is just stuff for you to look over here while they're doing nothing.
No, listen, I have to disagree. I'm so freaking jacked for the Seahawks throwbacks. I can't exist. Like, I'm so excited. And it's during the Browns game. Yay! I'm so excited. Okay. So anyway, let's talk about this division a little bit more. We're going to do Kate, short, one word, Aaron, just quick answers to these. Lisa, I'm going to start with you. Most interesting division in the AFC?
South.
Yep. Kate?
South.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Lisa, most likely to swap top team for the bottom team. Who's going from worst to first?
Worst to first.
That's tough, isn't it?
That is tough. I'm gonna stay with the South, and I said the Jaguars are gonna go to the first because they were pretty bad, and then Doug got them. I don't know any other. God, because they were all like mediocre. There wasn't really anybody awful bad, and I still think the teams that were, and I still think the teams that were low are still going to be low right now. I don't see anybody going from first from last.
The Jets can't beat the Bills. The Browns can't beat the Bengals. The Texans can't beat the Jags, and the Broncos can't get ahead of the Chiefs. I don't think there's a single division that has a chance at flipping worst and first.
You know what? I'm scratching it. I'm gonna say the Jets.
Okay.
I'm going to say the Jets with Rodgers. I think Rodgers elevates them. I do. I think the Jets. I'm going to go Jets.
That's brave of you. Because I'll vomit if Aaron Rodgers wins that division.
I can't count the guy out. I mean, Jesus, he just makes magic happen a lot of times. And
stop it. Look, it's our friend Teverly. Hi, Teverly. How are you? I'm so glad you joined us. Just can't say much about our Raiders. Aiden O'Connell looking good so far, still starting over. Yeah, I think the Raiders are kind of starting over, but that could be a good thing. Sometimes you need to start over from the bottom. I'm so excited to see Teverly. I look at this and I think probably worst to first is probably the Texans. I'm so curious what's going to happen there. That's no shade on the Jags. It's no way. I don't trust.
No way.
I don't trust.
No way.
Of all those teams, I don't trust the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think there could be a lot of teams. Like, I think the Jets could probably
trust Alabama quarterbacks.
Oh, stop it. I think that the Broncos could easily pop up to second, but they're not beating the Chiefs. I think that, you know what I mean? There's lots of that too. Maybe they're going to go up a couple of spots.
But they're not going to go worse man. That's a ballsy pick, but I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to say you're totally wrong, but
if the Broncos were in any other division, I would think they could go to first, but they can't get by the Chiefs.
No, unless Mahomes go down with an injury.
Yeah.
Which
threw it out. Okay. So next question. Looking at how strong the AFC is, Lisa, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
Can the Chiefs win it again? Now, remember, they did not have the best offseason.
Yes.
Oh, I shouldn't have asked you because you're just like, Mahomes. You're just like every other Kansas City fan. No one else exists. Sorry. No one else is on the team. No one else plays. Mahomes out there all by himself.
Best quarterback in the AFC.
I agree. I agree. He's the best quarterback.
Until somebody dethrones that, I'm riding with Mahomes.
I'm just gonna say that quarterbacks don't win all by themselves. Anyway, go ahead, Kate. Kate, who is it? KC win again?
They can.
I think they can.
They absolutely can. They haven't. They didn't have a great offseason, but they didn't lose enough to make me think they can't.
They lost Frank Clark. Chris Jones is now not showing up to camp. He's like, pay me more money.
They'll give him the money. They'll give him the money.
It'll be fine. Now, week 7, ask me if they will, because by week 7, I'll have decided whether or not they will win it again. But they absolutely can.
Right. We need to do like a mid-season report. You're right. Okay.
You're right.
So Last thing. I'm so impressed that I thought we were going to be here like an hour and a half. So impressed with you ladies. Biggest story for the AFC this year. Kate, I'm going to start with you. What is the biggest story that we should be following in the AFC this next season?
Wow.
And I'm going to say this while you think about it. Chiefs didn't have much competition last year. Absolutely, Camden, you are 100% right. Other than the Bills, who even had total terrible injuries. Yeah.
I'm torn. And I've been thinking about this because you sent us the questions ahead of time so we could think about it. I think Aaron Rodgers at the Jets is going to be very interesting to watch. And I think all the moves that Houston made with the draft and everything else is going to be very interesting to watch. But I'm also a huge fan of watching train wrecks. And so for me, it's the Tennessee Titans. I don't know what is going to happen to that team this year, but I will have my popcorn and I will be watching. Is it Ryan Tannehill? Is it Malik Willis? Is Mike Vrabel getting fired? Is this guy? I just
Derrick
think
Henry, is he gonna stay
all
healthy?
the drama. Derrick Henry is by mid-season is going to be like, please trade me to somewhere else where people ain't crazy, and I will people will line up for him. I think whatever is going to happen in Tennessee is going to be really what I'm glued to this year.
Yeah. Lisa, what about you?
I'm going to say the story to me to follow is going to be the AFC East. I'm going to go back to my division, and I'm going to go to the Patriots because I think the story to follow is going to be the Zappy Jones quarterback issue. I really honestly think I do. I honestly think they have a split locker room. They have a split fan base. And if Mac Jones even struggles 1 inch, I think Belichick's going to go to Zappy. And I think you're going to see. So the quarterback issue to me is going to be something to really follow in the AFC East. And it's going to make a huge difference.
Is there another team in this conference with the quarterback controversy where there's a guy?
Tannehill maybe.
Backup.
Tannehill maybe.
Tannehill maybe.
I mean, otherwise, I feel like they're pretty set at quarterback.
Yeah, I think so. I think everybody is.
The Raiders. We don't know what's going to happen with the Raiders.
I think he'll be ready. I just don't think he's ready now.
Yeah, no, I know, but whether or not he'll be good enough. Indianapolis, I will have to see how Anthony Richardson comes out and how he does.
Rookie quarterbacks to me just don't count this year.
They don't. Yeah, I get it. But that's my story to follow this year is all these babies in the same division against all these monster quarterbacks out there, how they do, how quickly they learn, how right the draft was versus how they play. Did the right quarterbacks go first or not? And I can't stand quarterbacks most of the time, but there was just something about this group of young men that really kind of tugged at me a little bit. So I'm excited to see kind of what happens there. And so why I have like 5 or 6 stories I'm going to follow in the NFC, really that's what's going to capture my attention. That and the South, just to see what happens down there. I think it's going to be fascinating for sure. But my story to watch is not Aaron Rodgers. I just want to put that because I don't care. I don't care. I don't care, Aaron Rodgers. So sorry. Listen, we need a new villain. Brady's gone. And so, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is it. And he's a wackadoodle. And so that's okay. You know what I mean? So,
so
he came out of his hole. He sure did. Yeah.
Lisa, like my shirt?
Look at Sporting Kansas City shirt.
I saw that. I was going to ask you if you had a Sporting Kansas City. And of course, I'm sporting my donkey shirt.
I know. It's so good. Yes. We would love donkeys. And again, donkeys, our sponsor, we love them to death. And we love that they sponsor our season. And we, the podcast during the season, we appreciate that so very much. But all right. It's been a long time, ladies. This was good to actually sit down and talk. And yes, it is the off season. And yeah, there's not a ton to talk about. And we're fighting over stories that we can post. But at the same time, this is kind of where you can really get into the meat of teams and see, where they're at. Do we know how they'll perform yet? No. But that's the fun of it, isn't it? All right. So we will be back in just a couple of weeks. I'm out of town for a few weeks. So after I return, we will come back and we're going to do the NFC. We're going to have the same type of show, about an hour long, where we break down the NFC and look at all the teams in there and see how they're doing. And any other breaking news that shows up at that point. At some point, though, I want to talk about the Colts and all their gambling. I want to talk about that at some point. So that'll be really interesting.
I believe there will be less quarterback talk when we do the NFC.
For sure.
Well, Lisa
It'll
can't
be
come.
defense.
No, Lisa can't come to that one because she'll just bitch about Geno Smith the whole time. It'll make me mad. And so Lisa's uninvited. And then, no, I'm just
Shit,
kidding.
no, by that time,
Uninvited.
sorry.
Is that what
By
this
that time,
means? Uninvited.
well, he just might be like the top-rated quarterback, which is sad, right?
Yeah,
Holy
you
crap,
are forgetting
the
about
Geno
Dak
Smith
and
quarterback,
Jalen Hurts
holy
and
crap.
all of these other guys. Stop it. Just stop it. See, this is why she can't come.
Join us next
Yes.
month for the NFC fight.
We'll be back in July in a couple of weeks.
Gloves are coming off.
And then after that show, we are back weekly at that point, people. We will be back mid-July weekly again with you after the see. This is why I need Camden to be in our comments. God love you,
God.
Camden. Gino.
Oh.
So anyway, so yes, we are going to talk about that. The NFC, and then we'll be back weekly. We'll get right into training camp and all of the other good things that come with it. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with us, and we will see you again in a few weeks.